Hi, I'm Charly Shelton. Welcome back to Parks Central. This week we are going to be doing another one of our panel discussions, and I'd like to introduce our panel. We have Mike Sandoval from MUSE TV and Norm Gidney from Horror Buzz. Say hello, guys.
Hey,
Hello, guys.
So, there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot to talk about. But I think the thing I'm most interested in is something that I've seen going around online this week, and I want to ask Norm about first. What's up with Halloween Horror Nights? I've heard it's being canceled, and then the person who put it out immediately walked it back and said, I don't know, it's just what I've heard, but they're already in construction. They're making some headway, so I find it hard to believe that they would scrap that money in that time unless something really bad, if there were to be like another spike in coronavirus, because maybe we're opening up too soon. That would probably be the only thing that would derail it, right?
Okay. Well, okay. Okay. So here's the situation. You're dealing with a very fluid and developing situation in different parts of the country that have very different standards. And I'm putting that diplomatically. Now, what I can tell you is that in Florida, Orlando itself is pushing heavy to get everything back open. I mean, Universal Orlando Resort is already open. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the Walt Disney World Resort is planning to reopen and getting everything all, so they are pushing. Even Busch Gardens Tampa is open. And SeaWorld, we had somebody at SeaWorld when they were opening, and they said it was just a mess. Simply because there was nobody enforcing social distancing. There was nobody enforcing masks. There was, so there's that. But then you have California, who just, Los Angeles and California just reported yet another gigantic spike in reported cases of COVID-19. So you have California that's a little bit more strict, and then Los Angeles County that's even, it is the epicenter for COVID-19 in California by 5 times. Mm-hmm. And they're dealing with just a hemorrhaging situation, and they're in a very different space than Orlando is. Now, with all of that being said, I know that was a long way of explaining things, but as far as I know, only about 3 of the houses in Orlando were scrapped so far, but they are still intending to have Halloween Horror Nights, as I know it right now. Mm-hmm. But it will be extremely limited capacity, and side note, did have somebody there of Universal Orlando when it had their pass holder preview, and my guy said that he felt very safe, that they were monitoring everything.
Good.
They were on top of it. So that I was really happy to hear that they were opening and they were actually trying to be responsible about it.
Good.
So with all of that being said, as far as Orlando goes, I'm not entirely sure, mm-hmm. because it's such a different situation.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, let's be real. They could build all of those mazes and train all of those actors and just hold all the sets and everything until next year.
Yeah.
So it would be a drag, but who knows?
Yeah.
As far as I know, Universal Hollywood is still planning on it. It's not gonna look the same.
Mhm.
It's not. But that could change at any moment. Like right now, we're in a huge spike. Then suddenly we could go down.
Mhm.
Everything, you have to understand how the disease works. It's about a 2-week delay.
Mhm.
So, but here now, again, I hate to just come out, guns blazing about this whole situation, but Disneyland Paris, okay, let's take them for instance. They're about to reopen. They're planning on reopening July 15th.
Mhm.
Okay, but let's compare numbers here. I wish I had this like right immediately at hand, but
Generalities are fine.
okay, the U.S. Has had so far about 127,000 deaths.
Mhm.
Okay, and the country of France total about 27,000 deaths, with about 100,000 ish reported cases.
Mhm.
And on top of that, there are more recoveries, right, than there are active infections.
Mhm.
So their curve is coming down. They're like here, and they're seeing it still slowly going down. And they're still very like, we're going to open, but social distancing, they're just like very, very cautious.
Mhm.
So we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because it's killing me.
Well, I think that's, everybody except for those in power know that that we're not over this and this isn't going away anytime soon. But I think it's also been long enough where they're like, well, we got to make money. I know there was a big petition for Disneyland where the workers who are being called back sent a petition to the governor to try and stop it, saying we don't feel safe, and if we can't come back to work, we lose our jobs, and
the
that's
cast members union
unfair.
Wrote to Newsom
Mhm.
after Disneyland announced that they planned on being open by the anniversary date of July 17th. That was a whole PR push that Disney wanted to open all the parks worldwide for Disneyland's birthday.
Mhm.
Well, sorry, but if it's not a safe situation,
Yeah. And even at that, what kind of quality of life are we going to have going back to the parks like this? Doing, we can't do business as usual. You can go back, you can stand there, socially distanced, but not everything's going to be open. Certain things like Rise of Resistance, you can't actually do it the way it was supposed to be. You can't have somebody get up in your face and move the prisoners along and lock you in a cell with a bunch of other people. You just don't have the room for it anymore to stay socially distanced and do all that. And I think that's compounded when you look at haunted houses, because there's, I don't think, ever been a haunt in history where it's not muggy and hot inside all that visqueen. So that, and all of that is not coming from just the lights. It's all the performers and screaming into the latex masks and everything. And it's just a field of other people's droplets, and you feel it in your lungs when you walk in. And now that we're all cognizant of that, I don't see how that's going to work, even with a few of the houses, being as they are. They would have to be entirely open, and then you're losing all the smoke and the effects, and it's less controlled to keep it open air. I just don't see how it can be done in any semblance of a way to keep the control that you need in a haunt.
Well, I'll tell you how it could be done. And I hate to harp on it like this, but if our country were able to go on like a mandatory lockdown for a good 3 weeks and be like, nobody can go anywhere or do anything for 3 weeks, and everybody absolutely must wear a mask for the next 3 weeks, starting today, we would see an immediate decrease in the infection rate, and we would be able to have Halloween.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm trying not to make it a political thing or trying not to make it a something whatever, but I'm just talking straight up science. That would be about the delay time, and then we would all be back to we would be on the road to recovery faster. I'm not going to say it's going to be like that, But great. So now we're going to suffer through a Halloween that might not be all that good.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
happy Saturday.
And the sad thing is that I know nobody wants to make it political, but it's being made political.
it is
And
a political issue.
It's becoming a political issue, which sucks. But to get back to the non-political stuff, I don't know if any one of you saw, there was a drone footage that went over Universal Studios Hollywood to show what the construction and what was going on in the park, and they showed 3 mazes being constructed already.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting to see.
Were they in the back lot?
Yes, the one next to the Mummy was already under construction.
Oh yeah, that little.
Yeah, and the 2 behind that facade, that
Got it.
screen, where Creepshow was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Those were already constructed. They had the tarp over. Looked like they had walls. Not sure what middle walls, but that was all constructed already from what that drone footage looked like.
Okay, were there any other? Forgive me, I haven't seen the footage. But were there? There were only 2 mazes.
Only 3 mazes.
Meaning there were only 2 mazes in the back lot.
3.
And there was
2 in the black lot and then 1 in that lower lot.
Okay, because see, last year they of course Stranger Things was in that soundstage. Killer Clowns was behind the Mummy. Then you had 3 mazes over in the back lot. So so far already now we're not there's 1 missing over in the back lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, because there was
weren't there 4 mazes? There was Ghostbusters, Creepshow, and then oh no, you're right, 3.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they didn't do because I remember
and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there wasn't anything in the Parisian Courtyard in the upper lot.
No, nothing in the Parisian Courtyard. Nothing where they had where the tram buses were parked for their garage. Nothing in there yet.
Okay, well,
only those
would have been up. Those would have been up.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly. I'm telling you, you know, they could. It's a lot of work. They have their mazes locked in. They have their properties locked in by January 1st, and they start building easily, like in March.
Yeah. And that's I can see them building off site or you know, even in take over one of the sound stages since nobody's filming. Just build in there. You have plenty of room for the workers to spread out and everything. They can have it all built and prefabbed, not in place. It's more of a bitch to do it, but you know, you can build it all there and just have it ready to stand, and then stand everything up over the course of what, maybe a month and a half. You know, if it's all pre-built in place, standing in a sound stage, you just walk it over and bolt it back together. Because
I mean, it's not as plug and play, but you know, it's relatively easy.
Yeah, it's more complex than that, especially at that level with all their stuff. But like, if they wanted to do something like that, they could be prefabbing it elsewhere. That would at least make sense to me. But the fact that they're standing walls already, they're going about it business as usual, and that I just don't see. And you know, not even like the Parisian Courtyard where you have it. Where they have the open air spaces, or like in the backlot area where they did the Holidays in Hell, that little walkthrough experience that's very, very basic, but still a great little thing. They could do stuff like that would be so much faster, so much cheaper, and I think a little more conducive to the open airflow thing that we need now. And those aren't, at least so far, those aren't coming in.
Also, I missed the one by Waterworld. Is already
yes. Okay.
It looks like that one looks like it's already being worked on. So there's technically 4 being worked on. At least from like.
Mm-hmm.
So curious how in the hell you're able to get the drone footage in there with no option. But that's just me.
I don't know what the legalities are, but I'm telling you what.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to ask, because I've seen the guy who does Disneyland and Universal helicopter flyovers, and I know he's the only one that's like, you're allowed to do it, and it was a big deal that they did allow him to do that. But there's a lot of other people out there doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because he has to just keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, but let's see what happens. I mean, you saw they showed a lot of construction. Well, the construction on Nintendo, Super Nintendo Land. And you could see where the entrance is going to be now. But there's still a lot of framing on the outside, and now they sealed
Over in
up.
Japan, you're talking?
No, here at Hollywood.
Oh,
here at University of Hollywood, they show it. The building's already sealed up.
Yeah, I saw it. That's the only shot that I've seen. I haven't seen any of the haunt stuff, but I did see a shot of the Nintendo Land.
Yeah, the Nintendo Land in Japan just looks small. It looks very cramped.
It looks almost done though. They've already got
the
Bowser decorations up and the piranha plants.
Weird. It really looks like it's like you stepped into a video game. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool.
I saw the Yoshi, the Yoshi moving around.
Oh, really?
Tree, and somebody had it on Twitter, and I was just like, wow, that looks pretty good.
That's cool.
So I'm just kind of like, I want to see when they open up in Japan and what that's going to be like. Because I could already tell you from the aerial view, it looks very tight. And I don't know how it's going to be like with what we're going through.
Yeah, I think Japan is being very responsible with all their social distancing, single use everything. They already had I'd much rather go to a vending machine than talk to a person. So let's just keep our distance already. And now they're turning it up to 11. I think that's the model we're all going to have to go to is, Japan circa 2005 is where the rest of us will land, and they'll be even better than that. But with all those rides and because of, the money that's poured in and all the awesome effects that they have, you can't keep a lot of it because it is so immersive. Like the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Shanghai and the Tokyo Disney Sea Indiana Jones, or Tokyo Disney Indiana Jones, all these things have these really intense immersive splash effects that you're just going to have to turn off. And without that, it's like, okay, well, now you've gone from the best in the world to decent, and I think pulling out a lot of those things is gonna hurt their park experience, unfortunately. But we're all gonna have to do that. Yeah. Luckily, in Disneyland, they don't invest the money to have any cool effects to pull away, so that's kind of nice. But so my other thing, speaking of splashing, that we do have to talk about is the retheme of Splash Mountain. What do you got? I've been doing this podcast weekly as just an audio thing, and I kind of went over my feelings in that episode. But what do you guys think about now it's officially announced they're doing a splash for Princess and the Frog?
Forgive me, but what is your opinion?
My opinion is I don't like the circumstances in which this was put in. I hate the idea that anyone can go to Disneyland and not feel included. So if we need to get rid of Splash Mountain to bring inclusion in, it's more important that each guest feels that magic and feels connected and accepted. And if we need to pull anything out.
Well, we just excluded Mike.
I guess so.
Get out. Anyway.
But I hate the idea that anyone at any point would go to a Disney park and not feel like they're the center of the story. So if the only way to do it is to get rid of Splash Mountain and put in Princess and the Frog, if that's what will make anyone else feel included, then it's worth getting rid of. I just don't feel that doing it in this way is the right tack. And also, since 2009, I've thought Princess and the Frog is such a great property. It really needs its own experience, be that a ride, or I was thinking preferably a big budget stage show would be really cool. And when they started doing construction on that new Club 33 entrance, before they said what it was, I thought, oh, this is it, because it's right behind Cafe Orleans, and maybe they're going to retheme it to Tiana's place. And I was chomping at the bit. And that was during the time when I was had a pin trading addiction, and I was down at the park, 3-4 times a week. So I was watching it. Thousands of dollars wasted, but I was down there all the time, and I was so excited. And then it was Club 33 and whatever, it's fine. but I was kind of hoping that it would be that. And now that we're getting the overlay of Splash Mountain, as cool as it looks, I just feel like there's always going to be that asterisk on it. It's never going to be like, we believed in this property, we really like it, and so we're putting something in. It's just kind of like Frozen Ever After. Like it's not its own thing. It's just kind of a quick cash grab overlay to satisfy the public. And Frozen Ever After is a fine ride, but it feels disjointed, and it doesn't feel like it was planned from the get-go. It feels like we have this building, we're not going to change the track, and we're going to keep everything as similar as we can, but we will put up some Frozen stickers. So have at it. And that tends to be what Disney, I mean, I'm Journey into Imagination shirt. Like, look at that. When we're going to hurriedly do something and slap it together. It comes out as a poor product. And as cool as Frozen Ever After is, it's never going to be as good as a ride that was conceived from the ground up, to where the track layout, the ride type, everything tells a cohesive story the way it should be. But now that's the Frozen ride, and it's being cloned out to other parks as the Frozen ride. So we're never going to get that real experience. And the Princess and the Frog kind of is the same way, where it's like, we've already got the Splash Mountain, we're just going to put the Princess and the Frog stickers up. And I feel like it's not really satisfying. Like it's slapdash, and it's quick. And I think if they want to do something for inclusion, for whatever it is, and to be honest, the inclusion thing never really popped into my head. And I'm ashamed to say I never really noticed it. But what I did think of with that is Tiana as a princess is such a great character, because she isn't waiting around for a prince to come and save her. She isn't relying on anyone else. Even when someone offers to do it for her, she's got the perseverance to do it herself and dig a little deeper and work a little harder. And I love that aspect of her. I love that she is not waiting for some magic to come and save her, and the magic only gets in her way. And that, to me, is the best part of the movie. That's the best. That aspect of her character is the best part of everything there. And I would hope that they would have believed in that character enough to give her her own thing as an empowerment thing to young girls. It's my youngest sister's favorite movie of all time. She is beyond obsessed with it. And she's now 21 and a dive instructor, and like just incredible. She's awesome. And she still makes little references to that, to the dig a little deeper, work a little harder, all that kind of stuff that she got from Princess and the Frog. So I've seen it come through in her life, that this actually did inspire her and gave her those lessons. And I would hope that would be something that they would lean on, and they never quite did. And the same thing almost with Brave, where she was just like, this is what it is. I got to fix it, got to do it. And it's been a recurring theme. And, present also with Anna having to go save Elsa. Like, she's just never going to stop, never going to wait. And Frozen 2 did such a great job of showing, like, Kristoff is there, like, to help her as a partner, not going to come and save her. They've got all these things in the movies, and yet they're just not putting that forward in the parks. So I would hope that would be a little more prevalent. That's what I take from the Princess and the Frog thing, and that's why I have always wanted to see it there with an exit through the restaurant, kind of like the Ratatouille ride, rather than through a gift shop. But I just feel like this is slapdash in a response to a Facebook campaign, and not done for the right reasons in the right way. If you're going to do it, give it its due credence, allow it to go through real development from the ground up, and really put something well thought out in there, instead of just this overlay as a response.
Okay, so correct me if I have misunderstood, but you think that the motivation for Disney to do this is not the most sincere, and you think that because there is an existing structure, it's just going to feel like an overlay as opposed to an attraction.
Yes.
That you feel that the property is one that deserves much more customization and attention.
Yes.
Okay.
And I I think it'll be cool either way.
Okay, and I listen. I understand what you're saying, but I will aside. I will say that I think that comparing the really crummy Maelstrom Norway ride to Splash Mountain,
yes,
is no,
completely different worlds.
Okay, so let's start with they already have a better base, a better canvas to work with. Okay, so because even when it was the Norway Maelstrom ride, that ride was terrible.
Yeah,
there were a few really cool effects.
Yeah,
but you went up, you turn around, you went down backwards. I mean, it was so nothing.
Yeah.
And the grand finale was going in to watch a movie about Norway.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. So
like splashing down into oil rigs. There's nothing that says magic like offshore drilling.
What the hell is that for a finale? Welcome to our depleted planet. So it was a stupid ride. It was a stupid ride, period. And they didn't have much to work with. Now, cloning that ride, that very specific ride and layout, that's dumb.
Yes.
Okay. So but can we agree that Splash Mountain overall is a much better ride than Maelstrom?
It is. Yes.
Okay, great. So we have a structure and scenes in both the U.S. parks, Splash Mountains, that would cater to a more cohesive story and story beats.
Not necessarily, because I think that comes into what story they put into that. You can
now they will have to work with the structure they had originally intended for. But okay, now let's be clear. Splash Mountain really didn't have a whole hell of a lot of a story anyway. I mean, it was just, here's the rabbit. Oh, they're trying to catch the rabbit. We go to the laughing place. Oh, he gets thrown in the briar patch. I mean, honestly.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think Splash Mountain has a great story. It is clearly defined. I don't think it's necessarily propped up by the ride architecture. I just think it's a good story in the beats that it's told. Personally, I've always thought Splash Mountain was like an allegory for drug use. And I figured that out when I was like 10, and it blew my mind. And I'm like, I'm smarter than all of you.
Alice in Wonderland.
Were you at the park on Molly or LSD?
No, not. This is just straight up. I was listening to the music at home, and it like brain blast, and I'm like still proud of myself for thinking that. But it's an allegory for drug use. He's like at home, and he doesn't feel right, and then he follows these two weird outsiders who are like pushing him around, and he goes into the laughing place where everybody's laughing for no reason, and they're like spinning around on shit, and everything is in dark light or black light with like neon colors everywhere, and then he gets trapped, and he's like, oh no, and we go past his mom's house, and she's like, I told him not to do it, and now he's gonna get screwed up, and I told him not to. And then he has a big come down, and he hits rock bottom, and then finally he comes home, and he's like throwing the ropes off, and he's getting over it, and he's like, I don't need to go to the laughing place anymore because I kicked the habit, and like he realizes he doesn't need to go there.
And when it comes to drug-induced rides, Splash Mountain is not the one I think of.
No,
Wonderland.
I always thought of it as a drug allegory.
I would say that that's a very heartfelt interpretation, and I can see how you would but it was based on stories of Uncle Remus and of the little rabbit who was mischievous and silly and going where he shouldn't go and getting into trouble. And of course the bear and the fox were there so basically it was an allegory that was trying to teach slaves to just stay on the damn plantation. And so that's
that makes sense.
That's where that came from. So while we can say, oh, this is a lot of fun, and I myself I still dug those characters, and it was like all that, the fact remains that it stems from that. So when you can take that out and you can put in a story that is about, as you yourself brought up, empowerment and problem solving. It's a much better storyline to be sharing.
I think so. I think Princess and the Frog is a better story than, I mean, Song of the South notwithstanding, just the stories of Uncle Remus. They have so many, like it's folklore, and I, as from an academic point of view, I love the fact that through these stories of Uncle Remus, which they don't even know if there really was an Uncle Remus, this could all just be a marketing campaign behind stories that were told by a bunch of people, but like they put it under Uncle Remus, and that has always been a problem with that. It's folklore. Essentially, it's folklore from Africa that was kept alive through these tales and Americanized. And from an academic point of view, I'm like, that is the coolest thing.
It's interesting.
Ever.
Yeah, it's interesting, but the intention behind the fables is dicey.
Yeah.
It is, and the fact that they are reworked that way. The one where he goes into the briar patch, I think you don't get, like in the movie in Song of the South, it sticks closer to the original tale of from Uncle Remus, where it's about like reverse psychology and outsmarting him because the rabbit is always he's like a trickster god almost, and he's constantly outsmarting everyone, like Loki or Blood Clot Boy or any of these other allegories that he could be. So having him thrown into the briar patch is showing that intellect triumphs over brute force and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't come through in the ride, in the same way that there's a lot of bad aspects of the movie that they cut out to put in the ride. That's also one of the aspects that I think was nice of the original tale, not even necessarily Song of the South, just the original Uncle Remus tale that was cut out to put either in the movie or in the ride. So in dealing with this, it is very dicey, and it does have a lot of questionable background to it. So I understand the reasoning. If they picked like, Cars Land or something, it's like, why? I understand where all of it's coming from. And I don't necessarily disagree with the decision.
And since my Charter Spectrum screwed up again, and I missed the majority of this, I want to add just my 2 cents on it, because I remember seeing Song of the South when I was a kid in a movie theater, when it was the last time it was released into a theater, because it was released in the 80s. And
that was actually, Mike, that was actually when they were considering building Splash Mountain.
Yeah.
So they re-released the film to gauge public reaction.
That's interesting.
And that was the last time it ever was seen again. And I remember going to see it, and I remember a lot of the imagery. I don't remember the exact film and how the pacing was, but it was interesting because I mean, as a kid, you don't think about it. And that's how I got to know these characters. But when you see Splash Mountain, I don't think it really does have much of a story. It's there's some story, but it's not what other stories tell. I think I'm cool with it. I think it's great because after 30 years, it's time for a refresh anyway. And it's something that it gets old. The paint you need to fix it up, and you need to liven it up. I think Disneyland's version is going to be the easiest one to implement because you could extend New Orleans Square and it fits into the theme. The one where they really have a problem in this overlay is Walt Disney World and the Magic Kingdom, because they're going to make it work. Yeah, they're going to make it work, but there is no New Orleans Square. It goes right into like Adventureland on one side and Frontierland on the other, and it's kind of nestled into a Frontierland space. So so that's going to be a lot of overlay.
On the flip side, on the flip side, our Pirates of the Caribbean only has a bayou because Walt wanted to do a New Orleans Square and put a pirate thing in there.
Yeah.
So, in Florida, they didn't want to do a bayou because everybody knows bayous there. So they built a Spanish fort.
Yeah, you go to the parking lot and you see a swamp.
Yeah. So, and what's really funny is they didn't even plan pirates for Magic Kingdom originally.
Yeah.
But people went there and like, where is it? And they're like, and so that's why they shoved it into Adventureland.
Yeah.
To be honest,
have you ever been on the Pirates? Have you ever been to the Pirates of the Caribbean Orlando at Walt Disney World?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It is like the worst thing ever.
It's an abbreviated version.
Yeah.
Super, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that fits, I think, in Adventureland over there. Pirates to me are more adventure-y. The connection with Jean Lafitte and the whole Bayou thing, like, it's cool, and now I associate it with pirates. But like thinking about it, other than maybe Blackbeard and antagonizing the Carolinas or New Orleans being a port to escape through, those are things that I wouldn't necessarily associate with pirates
Exactly.
of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's a stretch to call New Orleans Caribbean. Let's say that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, circling back, to compare, let's agree that comparing Maelstrom and Splash is like, it's not exactly fair.
The ride layouts, yes.
Okay.
Or the rides overall, I mean.
And so we have a better storyline for Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a very positive, like summarizing my reaction to it. I think it's a very positive thing for a very worthy property. I just hope that they don't screw it up. I hope that they really give it its own identity and give us as much magic. And, Dr. Facilier, who is my second favorite villain, only to Maleficent. I mean, because he was sneaky and tricky, and he knew dead people, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
So I hope that we get to go to, the other side instead of the laughing place.
I think that's the only way, because they're setting this up as a sequel of sorts. It takes place after the final kiss. So Facilier's already locked in that tombstone on the other side, and Ray
I just think he's
and that's
amazing.
Ray is my favorite part, and I'm sad that he's not going to be there.
Well, and Ray is hot, so. Ray, the prince, right?
What?
Is that the prince?
No, that's Naveen. Ray is the Firefly.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, Ray.
Well, technically he is hot because he has that nice bulb.
Yeah, he's a firefly.
It's bioluminescent. It's not hot. Anyway. No, yeah, Naveen.
Yeah.
Wow. But
Naveen will be there, I'm sure. It's
better be.
Going to be mostly around Tiana and Lewis, which is fine because that's all the music is from the two of them.
Well, and Lewis is so much fun anyway. I mean, listen, I am the last person to be like a Disney apologist or cheerleader, but I think this is a positive move, and I loved that movie. It didn't get enough attention.
Yeah, and I am cheering for a Coco ride, hopefully sometime before I die.
Cheering for a what?
Oh, you'll get one.
A Coco ride before I die.
You'll get one when they need to retheme Mexico Pavilion again.
Yeah,
yeah, and I like that Mexico Pavilion, but it needs to be a little more oomph into that now.
Coco is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. I can never ever watch it again. The day that I went to see it, my grandmother was fading quickly from dementia and Alzheimer's. And as we were getting ready to go to the theater, she had a moment of clarity, and she called me to like say goodbye and say how proud she was of me and everything. And I was like, it was like one of the most emotional days of my life. And I was like, okay. And I calmed down, and we went to the theater, and it was all about that. And then at the end of the movie, where she's singing the song and Grandma Coco has that moment of clarity, we can't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear that song ever again because it bothers me more.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it is one
of
the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. It's
really good.
Thank you.
I know. I'm sure it's amazing, but
it's incredible.
Pixar really screwed me over with Toy Story 3.
Yeah. And they're always all sad.
Made me just a complete pile of mush.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to. And then when people were telling me, oh, Coco, it's so sad and great. And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's the most emotional I think I've ever been. And it wasn't even like, I didn't break down as hard when I was talking to my grandma. But seeing that in the theater, my wife and I sat in the theater after the credits for like 20 minutes, just sobbing uncontrollably. And so now every time there's something go around, I'm like, nope, I have to leave. And they play Remember Me like during the Magic Happens parade, and it was such a beautiful float, but they played Remember Me at the back, and it I'm always going to have that reaction to it. So I just can't handle.
Poor guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I had the same thing. I had the same thing in a press screening with other journalists, and I'm bawling.
Yeah.
Because like I have a special connection with that film because of being interviewed for it at one time. Back when it was called Dia de los Muertos. To the point where even where the liver spots were placed on the hand are exactly like it reminded me of where my grandma's were.
Oh wow.
If that's why like people say like I remember one time, not with my hair like this, but younger pictures when I was a kid, people were like, that looks like you when you were a kid. And I'm like, I mean, it was a talk. I don't know how much they used for what I talked about.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you're the star of Coco.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think so. Skinnier, younger.
Well, then I have you to blame. Thank you.
Michael in the late 70s, early 80s. Not just kidding.
Get him.
Back when I had that nice little bowl cut. Not just kidding. No, but it's just it was really interesting to see that, and that's why like I want to see a theme park attraction for that ride.
Yeah.
For that movie, because there's so much you could build and you could do with that type of property.
Yeah, and I mean, even just the art design alone, just seeing that marigold bridge as an in-person effect would be the best. It's such an incredible movie. And that one, like, I don't feel the same connection if they were to overhaul the Mexico Pavilion ride. I don't feel any real connection. So like, if you want to, when they did the Three Caballeros, it's like, that's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
that's all right. But you know, I mean,
it's a good place to go into when it's really, really hot.
Yeah,
and humid.
Yeah, and you need a place
and pound it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to, when it was the Rio del Tiempo, like we used to call it the Rio del Queso because it was so damn cheesy.
Yeah,
and it was just like, you know.
Well, it's a ride-through brochure for Come to Mexico.
I know, and that was the whole idea behind it. But we just called it Rio de Queso, and we would get it, you know, a shot of tequila and then go nuts.
Yeah.
Yep. So. Well, to switch topics, since we're already at 40-something minutes, and we talked about 25 of them just on this Disney thing, so it looks like California's going to get its first theme park to open. Six Flags Discovery Kingdom is opening July 2nd.
Okay.
And they're still on track to open July 2nd.
Are they doing the reservation thing?
They are only opening it as a animal park and the zoo part. The attractions and the rides are not going to be open. So only technically half of it. I had never been to Discovery Kingdom up in the Bay Area.
I hear.
I don't know how. That's what I heard too, but I don't know how the layout is. Like, is it half animal park, half theme park, or what is it? But they're opening July 2nd. So what are you guys' thoughts on that and everything?
My thought is safety first. If they can do it safely. I don't understand what the need is to be the first to rush in to open during a pandemic, but
because we all talk about them. When was the last time we all sat around and talked about Discovery Kingdom?
And then they'll talk about how they had to shut down again because there was anyway. Sorry for that, but I don't see why there's a rush to open when there's still a spike in cases. I think we all know my opinion. We shouldn't be opening anything until things have flipped and there are more recoveries than there are increases.
I agree. I just don't think the people who are in charge agree, and this is just the way of the world now. Like we had our time off and we didn't get it taken care of, so now, you know, deal with it. Yeah, and I think what I'm more concerned about is I follow the LA Zoo very closely, and they said, you know, everything's allowed to reopen, but we're not going to because we don't feel it's safe for the guests, for our handlers, or for the animals. And like I would be willing to bet the fact that we don't have any kind of vaccine, and they're still learning all these things because it's so new. No one has really tested whether COVID could be passed to like flamingos and stuff, you know? So you don't want to have a huge outbreak around these animals that are already out of their habitat. They're eating, pellet food with like enrichments and stuff to try and keep their natural diet as close as they can. But like, it's a very delicate system to have all of these animals from around the world living in LA, mostly outside. So it's like, that's already such a troubling thing to then throw disease in there that could be passed to the handlers who then can't work, and then to the animals. There's just too many variables.
You never want a monkey throwing poo at you during this time.
Exactly. There's a lot of, if you're already weakened, you don't want to invite that.
Yeah.
So I think opening.
Well, yeah, because other times it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 98.6 is cooler than it is outside, so it'll be a cooling effect. You know, you get the wind, you get something. It's like a mister when they're not on. But I think opening the animal side of things is even more dangerous. Like a roller coaster isn't going to catch it, so open a coaster. You know, set everybody opposite in 3 rows.
Yeah, but remember what happened to Fabio?
No, Fabio, like
you don't, Fabio.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah,
when they were doing the press event for Apollo's Chariot, he was in the front row, and a bird flew into the path of the roller coaster, and he busted his nose.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Look it up, and
never heard that. That's fantastic.
There's
videos. There's videos of it, so you can find it.
I'm gonna Google that as soon as this is over. That's the first thing I'm gonna.
So so just because you're on a roller coaster doesn't mean you're not going to come in contact with an animal. Is all I'm saying.
Or people.
And a bat could fly in the way, and we start COVID all over again. You know, who's to say?
Yeah,
it's
exactly. That's why I think the parks that are more responsible are going to be the ones that people are going to want to go back to and they feel safer with. And I think that's why, like, I'm happy. I'm not cutting at the bit to go run back into a theme park to go have fun. Yeah, to shoot our show. Yeah, but to go in and go to actually go in there and have fun. Nah, I'm not.
Yeah,
like I could wait till it feels like all the safety precautions are there in place.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that. But I mean, I don't think we're going to see a theme park open now in July. I don't think we're going to see it in August either. I think September is what it's looking like now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And remember, this is just a maybe.
Depends on the spike.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how bad this current spike is going to be. Because this isn't even the second wave that they were talking about. We haven't finished.
We haven't. No. Yeah, we have not even finished that first one.
Yeah, so
we're still on foam and
finish your veggies.
We're still on foam, and this thing hasn't curled over and calmed down yet.
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, this is something I don't see a way out currently, and without trying to politicize it too much. The system is this way, like this is just how everything is going to run. And whatever your opinions on politics, it's not something that can be fixed by an election or anything quick. This is an entire system. And it's not something that we are just going to be like, oh, this is different, we'll get over it now. So I don't expect to change. And that sounds kind of hopeless, but
This live broadcast will be accompanied by cyanide tablet or razor blade, your choice.
Yeah, everyone's got their opinions, and they're like, we know what it's going to take, and we're gonna fix it this way. And I don't see a way out, because unless you abolish capitalism in everyone's heart, I just don't think that it can go away that fast. Mm-hmm. So I don't really see a way out.
And the Disneyland gangs are going to have to wait another month.
That's just how it's going to be.
No park feuds, no freaking Disneyland gang fights.
Yeah.
They're going to have to figure out something else to do. Maybe try and make this real
gangs. Remember when that's all we had to worry about? Is
the fight
initiated it.
Town.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
These Disneyland gangs who freaking like never seen a real gang. It seemed like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Growing up in East LA, there was one in every corner.
West side of the Park Story, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Beef with Tomorrowland.
Yeah, there's not, again, not getting political. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that felt really important at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just, it all.
Isn't it funny how the threat of death changes things?
Changes you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think also this is the longest I've ever gone without going to a theme park. So I'm jonesing hard. Like if we could have just like a theme park methadone clinic with like a Ferris wheel or something just to get me over, like I need a little bit of a break. I haven't been on a ride in months, and this is the longest I've ever gone. Like usually, January, February, maybe I don't until like mid-February. You still have the Lunar New Year celebrations to go to. So like you get something, you get a little taste, and then that gets you through to the spring openings. But like this is now, I think since I've been a child, this is the longest I've ever gone without going to a theme park.
Now I'm trying to picture what would be at said clinic. Like, are they going to be walking around like with a tray of Pirates of the Caribbean water and
just
like
sniff it?
I don't even have to sniff it. Yeah. Or like, there's little bits of something that tastes like churro.
It's like foam. It's just churro flavored foam left over from the Food and Wine Festival that they were going to put on something.
There's like people, I gotta go on Storm, man. I gotta go.
That little smell of ass, like when you're walking from Adventureland to Pirates.
Yeah.
Spritz them with fart.
That's just hand me a map and let me stand in line. I'll feel something again,
Oh my God. So yeah, I'd be down to visit that clinic. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think we all need it.
And we all have hampers you can put in front of the TV, which makes me laugh because I'm like, me and my sister used to do that when we were really, really small little kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and everybody's like, ooh, it's so, look at what these people are doing and inventing. I'm like, shit, when you grew up poor and you couldn't go to a theme park, you could only go maybe once a year, that was your entertainment.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year. It's like, and we didn't have TVs where you could troll around and they were light enough. You had big old heavy things and you had to use your imagination like you're going someplace.
Good old imagination.
Exactly. That's why I'm just like laughing. I'm like, shit, if we had that like light TVs back then, it would have been like, shoot, this would have been awesome. But no, we had to like pretend like we were in the cave and pretend we're going down a waterfall.
Yeah.
And
back in my day, we didn't have it,
Yeah. and maybe once or twice he broke a hamper because it was too much weight for the hamper. It's like,
we had to fight live rattlesnakes.
Gosh darn it.
And we liked it.
You got a cut, you put a little dirt on it, and you're fine. A little sana culita lana, and there you go. You're ready to go back. There you go.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. So we're at almost an hour now, and
I think I've covered everything. We'll just go around the room and let us know what you've got going on, Norm.
Oh wow. Let's see. Horrorbuzz.com, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all of that. On Facebook. Right now, we're reviewing a ton of independent movies. A lot of stuff is out there now to be seen on VOD, and we're covering that stuff and letting you know what's good to read, what's good to play video games, what's good to watch at home while we get through this actual horror movie.
All right, Mike.
Well, you can see us all here at MUSE TV, like we are all right now. You follow us on MUSE TV 1 on all our socials. Recently, actually yesterday, we just announced that MUSE TV Plus is coming, a brand new streaming service. So you're going to be able to see Make Believe on there and more. Hopefully, we could convince Norm to jump on board. And you can always find us here on MUSE TV.
And I'm Charly Shelton. I'm the host of Make Believe, the art and storytelling of theme parks, coming to MUSE TV Plus and Amazon Prime as soon as we can get going. And in the meanwhile, we are doing this podcast, Parks Central, every single week with panel discussions every 2 weeks or a month or whatever. We've kind of fallen off that schedule, but we are online every single week. So find us on Instagram and Twitter, Make Believe TV _ in between each, and there will be links in the description. So thank you guys for coming by, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.
See you. And